In a prestigious research facility in Beijing, a group of brilliant scientists gathered in a sleek, high-tech conference room. The atmosphere was quiet but charged with anticipation. These were no ordinary minds, experts in quantum mechanics, space exploration, genetics, and biology. Men and women who had long held the belief that science and faith lived on opposite ends of human understanding. Yet today, they weren't decoding the quantum fabric of space, nor testing genetic anomalies. They were tasked with something vastly different, something far more ancient. Projected on the screen before them was the cover of a book over 1,400 years old, the Qur'an. At the head of the room stood Professor Li Wei, a respected astrophysicist whose work had earned global acclaim. With a serious tone, he addressed his colleagues. "The government has assigned us to investigate claims," he began, "that the Qur'an contains knowledge that predates modern science. Our task is not to confirm or reject religion, but to study, objectively, thoroughly, and without bias." Some scientists glanced at each other with skepticism. Dr. Eric Shaw, a well-known atheist and molecular biologist, let out a faint chuckle. "Are we really here to test religious scripture with modern science? Isn't that like measuring poetry with a microscope?" But not all shared his doubt. Wang, a young Uyghur physicist, leaned forward. "Actually," he said, "there are passages in the Quran that describe natural phenomena with an accuracy that's difficult to ignore." Professor Li nodded. "Exactly. Are these just coincidences, or is there something more to uncover?" The screen flickered, and the first verse appeared. It read, "Do the unbelievers not realize that the heavens and the earth were once joined together, then we separated them?" Quran 21:30. Silence fell over the room. Some raised eyebrows, others typed furiously into their laptops. But Dr. Sun, a cosmologist specializing in the origin of the universe, sat perfectly still. Then he leaned forward. "This is eerily similar to the Big Bang theory," he said. "A singularity, expansion, separation of matter and energy." He paused. "This is just interpretation, right?" he added, half hoping someone would dismiss it. Professor Li wasn't convinced. "The Big Bang was only confirmed in the 20th century, he said. Yet this verse was written more than 14 centuries ago. No one spoke. Even Dr. Shaw, the skeptic, now stared at the verse as if it had somehow slipped past the very science he worshipped. The next verse flashed across the screen. "And the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed, we are expanding it." Quran 51:47. Dr. Sun nearly stood up. This is referencing the expansion of the universe." His voice carried both awe and confusion. Edwin Hubble proved this in 1929. Before that, even Einstein assumed the universe was static. The idea of expansion wasn't just unknown, it was denied. One by one, the scientists began to lean in, not just physically, but intellectually. They had come to challenge, to dissect, to doubt. But they were finding themselves caught in the gravity of something deeper. Verses continued to appear on the screen. One spoke of mountains having roots deep into the earth like pegs, a fact confirmed by geology only in the last few decades. Another described the protective layer of the Earth's atmosphere, how it shields living beings from harmful radiation, described poetically yet accurately. Then came the verse that changed everything. "Indeed, we created man from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a drop of fluid in a secure lodging. Then we developed the drop into a clot, then the clot into a lump, then the lump into bones, and then we covered the bones with flesh. Then we formed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators." Quran 23:12-14. The room froze. Dr. Eric Shaw now sat silently. This was his field. He read the verse again, then again. "I've studied embryology for 30 years, he said slowly. And this outlines the exact stages of fetal development. He walked to the front and typed on the keyboard. The screen split, showing modern medical diagrams of embryo development. A drop of fluid, zygote. A clot, when blood-rich tissue begins to form. A lump, when the shape starts to take hold. Bones. Then flesh wrapping around them. Exactly as described in the verse. No microscope existed in the 7th century. No ultrasound. No biology labs. The silence in the room turned heavy. The kind of silence that follows when something familiar begins to collapse. Dr. Wong, a forensic scientist, quickly pulled up another verse. Does man think that we will not reassemble his bones? Yes, indeed, we are able to proportion his very fingertips. Qur'an 75:3-4. He frowned. Fingertips. Then his expression changed. He looked at the screen, then at his own fingers. This isn't just poetic. It's forensic. He zoomed in on a slide of human fingerprints. Every person has a unique fingerprint. No two are the same. Not even identical twins. This is the foundation of modern forensics. He paused. And this verse references it, specifically. Doubt turned to discomfort. Then discomfort turned into wonder. How could these details, undeniably factual and scientifically confirmed, be present in a book over 1,400 years old? Another verse appeared. He has set the two seas in motion, one fresh and sweet, the other salty and bitter, and he placed between them a barrier they do not cross. Qur'an 25:53. This time, Dr. Wan, an oceanographer, stepped forward. This speaks of estuaries, where saltwater and freshwater meet but don't immediately mix due to differences in salinity, temperature, and density. He pulled up images of the Gulf of Alaska, the Strait of Gibraltar, and the Amazon River meeting the Atlantic. You see here, he pointed. The waters meet, but they remain distinct. Dr. Chin, who had laughed earlier at the entire project, now stood motionless. There's no way this could have been observed without satellites or sensors. But the verses kept coming. And in the sea there is a blazing fire. Qur'an 52:6. Dr. Chin gasped. He was a volcanologist. Underwater volcanoes, he whispered. They erupt from the ocean floor. Lava flows beneath the waves. Fire, underwater. He played footage from deep-sea expeditions. Glowing red lava, spewing into black depths of water, still burning due to intense pressure. One of the researchers murmured, "This is real. And terrifying." Verse after verse, field after field, these scientists, who had built their entire lives on proof, logic, and empirical data, found themselves in a storm of questions they couldn't ignore. Finally, the room fell quiet again. All eyes turned to Professor Li Wei. He took a deep breath. When we started, I believed we would find errors, myths, exaggerations. But so far, every verse we've examined aligns with modern science. No one contradicted him. Dr. Eric Shaw, the loudest skeptic, now stared blankly at the screen. Then, slowly, he whispered. If this is true, if this knowledge existed centuries ago, then we've been wrong. About everything. No one laughed. No one dismissed it. Because deep down, they were all thinking the same thing. They had entered this room as scientists, but now, they were seekers. In the hours that followed, the group sat together, reviewing verse after verse. What began as an academic assignment had become something else, an awakening. And then, it happened. One by one, quietly, with trembling voices, they began to recite words they never thought they would speak. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Tears flowed, Not out of fear, not out of guilt, but from the overwhelming peace of finding what they never even knew they were searching for. The next morning, the lab was quiet. Not from lack of work, but from reflection. Screens once filled with numbers now showed verses from the Qur'an. Books on physics shared desks with translations of hadith. The facility had transformed, not just into a research hub, but into a sanctuary. Professor Lee, once an atheist who believed only in numbers and atoms, stood by the window as the adhan echoed softly from a nearby mosque. The truth, he whispered, was always there. We just never looked with open hearts. That day in Beijing, the light of Islam entered not just a lab, but the lives of those who once believed only in science. And as they prayed together, side by side, they understood something profound. That real knowledge is not just found in equations, but in revelation. And perhaps, they hadn't discovered the Qur'an. The Qur'an had discovered them.